Are you at a crossroads in your business, or are you thinking about starting a new business? Most entrepreneurs don't have a work ethic problem, guys. They have a clarity problem. You're talented, you're capable and motivated, but you're stuck chasing ideas, shiny new objects, second guessing yourself, and not making the progress that you know that you should be making. That's exactly why I created a 3-week live mastermind called Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. I'm going to help you identify your passion, identify your talents, and turn that into a real business with a clear monetization plan. Your genius is the intersection between your passion and your talent, but most people don't know how to monetize it. By the end of the program, you'll know exactly what to sell, who to sell it to, and how to build a simple system to generate revenue. Plus, you'll get a private one-on-one implementation session with me to bring your plan to life. We start Tuesday, April 21st, meeting every Tuesday from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a beta group and there are only 10 spots available, and the investment is just $197, and we have a 1-pay option or 2-pay option. So if you're ready to stop guessing and you want to build a business that's aligned with what the creator gave you, make sure that you enroll now. Go to PAMYG.com for more information. It's the acronym to pinpoint and monetize your genius. P is in pinpoint, A is in and, M is in monetize, Y is in your, G as in genius. PAMYG.com to learn more. Remember, if you're serious about changing your life, don't wait. Lock in your spot now before the 10 seats are gone. The highest and truest form of entrepreneurship is pinpointing and monetizing your genius. Looking forward to seeing you inside the mastermind. Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family, and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 616. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is why you're working hard but still feel stuck. So as an entrepreneur, we work hard, but we want to work hard for a reason. We want to work hard so we can make more money and change our lives. Why you're working hard but still feeling stuck. Now, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the real reason that you're stuck in your business, the cost of being stuck, and what to do about it. But before we get to today's show content, let me just share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link that you heard at the beginning of the episode to the new Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius Mastermind Workshop that starts on April 21st. Make sure you go to PAMYG.com for more information and to enroll. I'm telling you, it is a no-brainer. It is going to change your perspective. It's going to change your life. It's the acronym for Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, PAMYG, PAMYG.com. Go there now, check it out. There's a short video on there, and it's only open to the first 10 people. So make sure you check that out. Now, let's get ready for today's show content, why you're working hard but still feel stuck. So once again, guys, the problem really isn't your effort, because most entrepreneurs are out there. We're hustling, quote unquote, we're grinding. And I talked about this last week, but just because you hustle and grind doesn't mean that you're making movement in your business, okay? So let's talk about the first thing. A lot of us are working hard, but we're not moving forward. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, which most of us try to do, but you're still not getting the results you want, this episode is for you. So think about this, guys. And I mentioned this last week. Just imagine as an entrepreneur, you're in a boat and you're in a stream, okay, in that boat. There's no such thing as standing still. You're either moving forward or the current is taking you backward, okay? So we have to understand what makes us be successful when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So we have what's called the illusion of success, right? We have that hustle culture, glorifies the activities, but not the results. And the whole thing about entrepreneurship, the beauty of it is it's always about the results. It doesn't matter where you come from, how much money you have. Of course, those are factors and they can play in the growth or failure of your business. But this game is really about the results. So when they talk about capitalism, I know there's some negative concepts about capitalism, and I get it, and I agree with some of those concepts. But the beauty of capitalism is that it's a meritocracy. So whatever you merit, you're going to get, right? For the most part. Now we have the good old boy network and all that nonsense. But what I'm talking about is if you work hard and you have clarity and you know what you're doing, you can literally change your life. Okay. So once again, guys, motion is not the same as progress. All right. Let's talk about some of the real reasons that you're stuck. Okay. And these are things that are common to a lot of businesses, not just new businesses or new entrepreneurs, but even mature businesses. So there's certain businesses that can only get to a certain level, to a ceiling or glass ceiling, and they can't break through. All right. So the first one, and these are the reasons that your business is stuck. You're building on a trend, not truth. So you're chasing what's hot versus what fits you. Okay. You're chasing what's hot. So we have all types of things. We call them shiny objects as entrepreneurs. Now, we as entrepreneurs a lot of times have ADD, right? I call it entrepreneur ADD. I know I have it because I can start researching a product or a business or an idea, and 30 minutes later, I'm actually looking at something totally different. I'm not able to focus. I wasn't able to focus, put it like that, until I realized that I was drifting. So I'm looking at all the hot stuff. AI is hot, and I'm pushing AI because that is the future. But if that's not for you, then you need to find something that's for you. So you're building on trends, not truth. So you need to stay focused and understand the difference, okay? So chasing what's hot is great if that's what you want to do. But how about what fits you? And I talked about this before. It's almost like if you go to the store and you buy a suit off the rack versus going to a tailor and having that suit custom made. That custom made suit is going to look much better on you than an off the rack suit, even though that off the rack suit might be a nice suit. So when we start chasing things that aren't aligned with us, the way we think, the way we're built, it's not going to happen. How many times have you seen somebody or talked to somebody about getting into a business or a business opportunity, and it's the hot thing, everybody's doing it, people are making money, but you could give them everything they need to be successful and they just won't do it. The reason is it's not that they don't think it can be successful, but it has to align with how they're built, their personality, what they like, what they don't like, what they're talented in, what they're not talented in. And so you're building on trends and not truth. That's the number one reason. And there's about four of them I'm going over today that you're stuck. So think about alignment. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. Is it right for you? So as a serial entrepreneur and business coach, guys, you don't know how many times that people would come up to me, family members, friends, the whole nine. They come up to me, ask me about this business. How do I start this business? I could sit there and I could lay out everything, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, everything to do step by step. And guess what? They're never going to take action. And the reason being, for the most part, well, there are two reasons. Number one, they might be scared or have trepidation of starting a business. And number two, it's not aligned with who they are and what they're about. That's why I said pinpoint and monetize your genius is the intersection. Your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. So if you're passionate about something and you have talents, then all you need to do is figure out how to monetize that intersection of your passion and your talent. And it sounds simple, but it's actually harder than you think unless you have a framework or a blueprint. So that's why if you guys are stuck, if you're not in the right place right now, if you're thinking about starting a business, go to PAMYG.com for more information. And I'm telling you guys, the reason that this came up, that I created this, is because I got tired of looking at all the new shiny objects. I got tired of looking at all of the new stuff that's coming out. And when you really break it down, it boils down to what is innate, what is in you. And that is going to make the difference between you being successful and unsuccessful. So once again, if you're doing something and you're chasing paper just for the money and you hit a roadblock, guess what happens? It's super easy for you to quit because you really don't care. You're just going to jump to the next low-hanging fruit to try to make money. But if you're passionate about something, if you have talent in something and you learn how to integrate those two and monetize it, that's when you're able to run through walls. You're able to get through all of the obstacles because it's something that is innate. So number one, and we're talking about right now, reasons you're stuck. You're building on trends, not truth. The second reason why you're stuck is you lack clarity. You have too many ideas and no direction. And I kind of touched on that. And like I said, if I could see you guys listening to this now and I ask you to raise your hand, how many of you would raise your hand when I asked if you have entrepreneur ADD? You know, I have it. I've learned to control it a little better, but we don't have that clarity. We lack that focus. Too many ideas. Once again, I was doing a consultation with somebody and one of the BEB family members, and I was doing a coaching program with them. And he was like, yeah, I want to do this. Yeah, then I'm doing this. I'm like, man, you got to get one thing working first before you go out there and start trying to branch off. Try to generate a consistent revenue from one stream of income first before you go out there and try to, juggle 3 or 4 balls in the air. So it's a lack of clarity. Not that there's anything wrong with having ideas, because that's really what entrepreneurs do. An entrepreneur only does 3 things, guys: think, create, and execute. It's easy to think. It's a little harder to create. And the hardest thing to do is execution. And a lot of that comes from lack of direction. So if you don't have a framework or a blueprint or somebody to help you, sometimes it's very hard. So you're going to lack some clarity in those respects. Let's talk about the third reason why you may be stuck in your business. You're misaligned. And I touched on that a little earlier. Your work doesn't match your strengths. And I don't know how many times I've seen this. And this doesn't happen just in entrepreneurship. It happens in corporate America too. So that's the reason where a lot of people are unfulfilled, because the work doesn't match their strengths. It doesn't connect with them in terms of making them feel good. They feel unfulfilled. So how many of you right now listening to this are going to a job or have a job that you're doing just because of the money? And get it. I've been there, done that. I understand that. And sometimes we have to do that. But are you truly fulfilled? That's the question. So if your work doesn't match your strengths and it doesn't fulfill you, how successful do you think you'll be? Now, there are a lot of people that are super successful in their jobs that really don't like their jobs. But what did I say at the beginning of the show? The greatest and highest form of entrepreneurship basically is being able to live in your genius. And your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent and being able to monetize that. That's the highest form of entrepreneurship. It's not a cookie cutter business. It's not this new fad. It's not that this new shiny object. Okay, so you're misaligned, and alignment makes a whole lot of difference. You ever seen a car or had a car that you're driving and the alignment is off? I saw this guy one time. It looked like he was driving sideways. His car was so bad. So that alignment is paramount to your success. And what we're talking about right now in this segment is some of the reasons that you're stuck in your business. Let's talk about number 4. But first, let's review. Number 1, you're building on trends, not truth. Number 2, you lack clarity. Number 3, you're misaligned. And number 4, you don't have a real strategy. Okay. So random actions versus intentional systems. Random actions versus intentional systems. So once again, if you don't have clarity and direction, and I talked earlier about if you're sitting in a boat and you're sitting in a stream and you don't have any direction, what's going to happen is the stream is going to take you whatever way it's flowing. Remember, there's no such thing as standing still as an entrepreneur. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. And in order to go forwards, guys, you have to have intentional systems. So random actions, that's like busy work. You're doing things sporadically. There's no rhyme or reason to why you're doing things. And the only thing that does is it makes you feel busy, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle. Okay. And once again, this is a results business. There's a beauty to that. And then there's a curse to that. If you can produce, that's great. But a lot of entrepreneurs, myself included, there are times when we can't produce. We're trying everything we know and we can't produce. That's why it's so important to have intentional systems. So you don't have a real strategy. So once again, guys, you're not stuck because you're not necessarily capable. You're stuck because you're not clear. All right. So these are some of the reasons that we stay stuck. Now, let's talk about the cost of being stuck. And this sometimes is even worse when you really break it down. So lost time. That's one thing you can never get back. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Everybody has the same amount of time. Time is super valuable. I talked about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, time blocking, where you focus on one specific task over a period of, be it 45 minutes or an hour. You don't answer emails. You don't answer the phone. You don't get distracted. You're focusing because time is precious. Okay, so one of the drawbacks is of being stuck is you're losing time. And a lot of that time is done doing busy work, stuff that really isn't moving the needle. So recognize and understand that your time is valuable, and the cost of being stuck is lost time. Another cost is obviously lost money. So if you're not working at maximum efficiency, guess what? You're not generating the revenue that you could generate if you were working at maximum efficiency. That's why if you ever gone into a factory, factories never want to be shut down, right? They want to work 24 hours a day. That's why they have first, second, and third shifts, because they're working at maximum efficiency. And so if you're not working at maximum efficiency, you're going to lose money. And that's a cost of being stuck. Another cost of being stuck, guys, is burnout. People get burnt out. And we're in this hustle and grind mentality, which is all fine and dandy. But if you're not hustling and grinding with the system or intentionality, guess what? You're hustling backwards, right? And burnout is real. Sometimes when you're working hard, you may be working 14, 16 hours a day. You got other stuff, the natural, just living in general. That's getting to you. You got your stresses, the pressures of relationships, children, financial pressures, and you can get burned out. And I tell a story all the time. It's a parable, and I'm paraphrasing this, but it was 2 guys were had a race cutting down this big oak tree, right? You know those saws where you big saws you pull back and forth. And one guy was fast as hell. He was sawing his butt off, right? Back and forth, back and forth. The other guy was more deliberate, and he would actually take breaks to sharpen his saw. And the guy who took the breaks to sharpen his saw actually won the race, because what he did, he didn't burn out. He didn't wear out the teeth on the saw. He was taking the time to work hard, but he also understood that he needed to keep his tools sharp. And the biggest tool we have, guys, is our body and our energy. We need to make sure that we keep our mind and physical, spiritual, and mental, everything in order. So you need to have rest. Okay. So one of my rules is I try not to break is don't ask me to do anything business related on Sunday. I get up. I try to go to church on most Sundays. And if it's football season, I'm locked in, right? I'm watching the birds, baby. So, but I try not to do any work on Sunday at all. Sometimes you have to, I have to, but the whole key is that's a down day for me. I'm not trying to burn myself out 7 days a week. It doesn't even make sense because what's going to happen? Just like that parable I told you about the guys cutting down the trees. If you burn yourself out, you're no good. Now think about this. Have you ever been like in college or something and you had to take a test and you've been up for the last 2 or 3 nights, you get into the test and all of a sudden you're tired as hell. You don't care what the answers are and you can't really focus. That's because you were burnt out. All right. So that's another cost of being stuck. The last cost of being stuck that I want to talk about is self-doubt. Self-doubt is very common in the entrepreneur community. That's why, guys, we have to stick together. That's why we have to talk to like-minded people that are in the trenches like we are. You know, I call corporate Americans, nothing wrong with it. I call them civilians, right? We're in the trenches, so self-doubt creeps up. So one of the keys that you need to do, guys, to combat that is you have to put all negativity, negative energy, negative people, whatever. You got to put them in the corner. That's what I always joke about with my wife. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not trying to hear that energy or feel it. I'm going to put you in the corner, figuratively, not literally, right? So self-doubt creeps up. Your money's not right. You have self-doubt. You thought something was going to hit big. You have self-doubt. All types of things can cause doubt. So the mental aspect of being a successful entrepreneur is I'm telling you, that's the biggest thing. It's the mental aspect, understanding and recognizing what you're going to have to go through to be successful and being able to deal with that. So once again, in terms of self-doubt, when we're talking and working with other entrepreneurs, having groups, like that's why this masterclass, I keep saying masterclass. That's why this mastermind is so important with the Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, because you're going to be in a cohort with other like-minded people trying to accomplish the same thing. So you need to focus and support one another. Okay. So those are some of the costs of being stuck. You have lost time, lost money, burnout, and self-doubt. So being stuck, guys, is common as an entrepreneur, but the faster we recognize that we're stuck and the faster that we figure out a solution, the better off we're going to be. Before we get to the last segment of the show, guys, let me just share all my social media contact information and resource links. So I mentioned at the top of the show and 1 or 2 times in the show, make sure you go to PAMYG.com, pinpointandmonetizeyourgenius.com, if you're interested in learning more about the mastermind. I can't speak about that enough. We literally are talking about a lot of things in today's episode that are encompassed in the actual mastermind group. Now, if you want to connect with me, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Instagram, I have 2 IG accounts. The first one is J Jones for Real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also on Twitter or X, whatever they call it now, JJones001, JAYJONES001. LinkedIn, J Jones Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and YouTube. Make sure you guys hit and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. Just go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit that subscribe button. Also, for any first-time listeners, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll know when a new episode drops. We drop every Monday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on all your major podcast platforms and YouTube. Now, let's get to the last segment of the show. And today we're talking about why you're working hard but still feel stuck. So basically, guys, it's not really about working harder. It's about working smarter, right? We always talk about that. Leverage technology. Leverage technology to help you systematize things so you can work at maximum efficiency, right? And it's also about working on the right things. So if you don't have clarity and are working on the wrong things, guess what? The needle's not going to move the way you want it to move. So you need to have that clarity to be able to work on the right things, okay? And probably the most important one, guys, they're all very important, but alignment is going to matter more than your effort. Alignment is going to matter more than your effort. You know when you're aligned with something, right? So for example, even in relationships, you know if you have a spouse or partner, you guys are probably pretty much aligned, right? You have probably the same type of values, some of the same likes and dislikes. Nobody's going to be perfect for you, but that's alignment. When you get into a job or position and it just feels right, that's alignment because you're aligned with you, with your inner self. Remember, your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. The key component here that most people don't know how to do is the monetization, right? So just to give you a little story for whatever, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, that's a genius. That's me living in my genius, right? So I'm passionate about helping people. I'm passionate about helping our community, right? That's one of my passions. Most people have several passions, okay? My talent is that of teaching. My talent is that of speaking, public speaking or whatever. So I have my passion and I have my talent. The monetization comes in through the BEB ecosystem. Now, at first, I wanted to see what I had. So I didn't monetize Black Entrepreneur Blueprint for probably 2 years because I didn't exactly know what I had. But as everything came into, the vision came became more clear, what I realized was people and the BEB family were asking me for things that I enjoy creating. So, for example, the online courses, my book, A New Black Wall Street, all of the ecosystem surrounding Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, that's me living in my genius. This new mastermind, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. I got so tired of talking to people that were chasing paper versus doing something that was innate in them. And what really came to mind was, and I talked about this before, after I almost lost it all twice, the second time when the mortgage business crashed, I said to myself, when I come back, what do I want that to look like? What type of business or what type of environment do I want to have when I come back? Do I want, 50 employees? Do I want a big office down in Center City, Philadelphia again? Do I want all that responsibility or do I want something else? And so unbeknownst to myself, I kind of created the Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius framework based on that. And so I know it works. I know it works. So that's something I want you guys to really, sink your teeth into and understand, guys. You're working hard and you're feeling stuck. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And you have to decipher and decode that reason. And then once you understand what that reason is, then you have to make the necessary adjustments. All right. Now, I say this each and every week, guys, because it's true. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the online courses, the mastermind, the books, the entire ecosystem designed to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.